One of my goals teaching this class is to present every single film on its own terms to make the best case I can for the film. And it's true, films that you might find a little off-putting because you don't like black and white, because you don't like things from the 1920s, because you don't like to see Ian Holm painted green, and that don't suit your kind of like pleasure viewing things, nonetheless are interesting. I'll make a case for them. So I'm gonna make a case for the Zeffirelli Hamlet from 1990. Here it comes. I'm going to make it. And this one's harder for me. This one is, let me be honest right here. This is partly on the list to give you depth of choice. It is widely available, and it's something you can find if you're having trouble finding some of the other Hamlet films. Sorry, Signor Zeffirelli. Mi dispiace, Signor Zeffirelli. This is the third Shakespeare movie Zeffirelli directed. It is like and unlike the other two. Zeffirelli was a great opera director, and he's very much about set design and costumes. This Hamlet was nominated for 2 Oscars, not for acting, not for directing, not for screenwriting. This was nominated for art design and costume design, art direction, pardon me, and costume design. Those are the Oscar nominations. And that's right. Zeffirelli wants to get you into a sensual and literal. He wants you to lose yourself in the world that the play depicts, in the fictional world, and he doesn't want to get meta-theatrical at all. Shakespeare's Hamlet, the play itself, wants to get meta-theatrical. The play within a play wants you to reflect. Zeffirelli doesn't play that. He wants you to just be brought right along, living the dream of the fictional world, and he's going to be meticulous about recreating it. His other films, his Taming the Shrew on our list, and his famous Romeo and Juliet, meticulously recreate early modern Italy. Zeffirelli is Italian, and he represents his own northern Italy in loving, sensuous detail. Here, it's set in a medieval northern Denmark, fairly bleak, great fabric, but not nearly as attractive, either in from Zeffirelli's perspective or from most people's, as Renaissance Italy. And in fact, I will point out Zeffirelli is doing this as costume drama. Some people do Macbeth this way. Few people do Hamlet this way. Few people direct Hamlet further back in history than Shakespeare's own time. Few people direct Hamlet or costume or stage Hamlet as something from the middle of the Middle Ages, as opposed to something from the 16th century when it was first performed. And we can talk about why that is. You can ask yourself why that is. But Zeffirelli is, in some sense, a literalist. The story is what it's going to be. It's going to be this costume drama. This is also an 80s blockbuster action movie. It's not a blockbuster in terms of box office, though it didn't lose money either. He's gone with big Hollywood stars. Mel Gibson was at the top of his reputation. Glenn Close had a lot of hits. And he lets them perform the way they want to perform. He's not super focused on the acting. Did I mention he's an opera director? And he's not super focused on Shakespeare's language. He's an opera director and a non-native speaker. He doesn't really direct his Hollywood stars in the language. And this movie doesn't really treat the language as poetry. It just turns it all into prose all the time. The action, the Hollywood figures do it. Some of the actors who are Shakespeareans from Britain do the verse. Others just don't. Zeffirelli is comfortable with received ideas. When I say he's an opera director, I mean some of his opera stagings just got retired from the Metropolitan Opera in New York, like after a 60-year run. I think a couple might still be in repertory. Metropolitan Opera, it's delightful. It's delightful, and you know, it's delightful, and there are cheap seats on the same day. And you might see Zeffirelli's own staging of a famous opera. He's interested in repertory war horses. Zeffirelli has a very 19th century approach. These are the great things that are in repertory. They remain popular classics in this way. We're going to give them to a popular audience. We're going to have popular stars. And when I say opera directors aren't interested in the language. Well, you never go to the opera and listen to the lyrics so much. It's about the notes. So this is going to be a straightforward, this is going to be the most Hamlet's a famously challenging play. Zeffirelli is Hamlet made easy. And famously, he decided to cast Mel Gibson because he was watching one of the Lethal Weapon movies where Gibson put a pistol in his mouth. Gibson played a suicidal, depressed cop and tried to pull the trigger and couldn't. And Zeffirelli was like, aha, that is Hamlet. He can do that. I want to commit suicide, but I don't. Cast him. That simple. Zeffirelli is not going toe-to-toe with Olivier. He's not going toe-to-toe with Branagh, whose film is coming 6 years later and doesn't seem to be sweating Zeffirelli at all. I'll also say, you will also see that this movie, like the Olivier movie, is super duper Freudian, that we're just taking for granted that like there's sexual tension between Hamlet and his mother Gertrude, who are, less than 10 years apart in casting here. That like Glenn Close is like 7 years older than Gibson, and that's an infinity in Hollywood casting director terms. You might as well be your mother, but in the real world, no, they're actually fairly close in age, and they start wrestling in a way that makes it very clear. That is not an original case. That's it. By 1990, that's a very well-worn idea about Hamlet. When Olivier does it, it's new and interesting. And, oh my God, you did that. And by 1990, everybody who'd ever taken an English class in college knew that, like, the Freudian reading about Hamlet, and Zeffirelli's doing it. So Zeffirelli is taking this famously complicated play and playing it straight down the middle. That is my best case for it. I watched it in theatrical release when I was an undergrad because I'm that old. It might be just a thing for you. It might not. But if you view it as Hamlet as comfort viewing, that's kind of what it is.